Hello. Is it okay? The volume? Hvað segir þið? Þetta aftast. Er þetta umlegt? Þið hristu eitthvað hausinn? Ha? Allt í lagi? Sko, getum gert þetta svona. Já. Okay, so this week I'm planning to give you lectures and then you can sort of interpret the assignments and connect to the material that is also out there in what people have been finding in research and so on, because now you have more you've experienced yourself using many methods. So these lectures this week will be very good to attend to because of the written exam. There's also an individual assignment open, and it will be open for 3 days. And it is for evaluating your experience using the RAMES framework. So you could either do it, or I will actually take a few minutes where you can do this today, but you could also do it later. So I have prepared 2 lectures for today. Would you like a break in between, or should we just run the 2 and have the individual assignment there in between, or what schedule would you like? Those of you that would like break, could you raise your hand? 4, 5, okay. 7, and there are 5. Yeah. You would like it too? It was 50-50. So I'm sorry? Should we have a short break? Yeah, I think so too, because I've been talking so much. So I think it will be good for you to have a short break, but just like 5 minutes. Okay. So first of all, I wanted to go through the learning outcomes to see if we have covered everything I promised you in this course, and then we could actually do something about it for during Wednesday. Next Monday there will also be a short lecture recap, so going through everything that we've been doing and questions and answers for the written exam. And then I don't plan to have a lecture during Wednesday after Easter's. So actually we are sort of closing the course next Monday. So you should have got everything then. So there are only 3 occasions left. It's today, Wednesday there will also be 2 lectures, and then Monday again there will be recap and questions and answers. Okay, so let's go through the learning outcomes. I promised you that you would gain knowledge of several methods for analyzing software where the user perspective is taken into consideration. You would also get knowledge about evaluation methods with and without users' participation, and knowledge of guidelines for good design, and knowledge of how to integrate user-centered design methods into Scrum development process. And for these, on the written exam, you're supposed to be able to tell me about the methods. And this could be methods that you haven't really used in the assignments, but we have covered in the slides. Okay, so knowledge, the knowledge part is more like know about it and be able to describe it, but not maybe you don't really, you're not able to tell how it was to use it because we haven't used those in the assignments, but these here are all the things that you've been using in the assignments. And this is one level up. And we are asked to do these levels now. It's 3 levels of education actually. It's knowing what the thing is, and if like you have a hammer and you know it is a hammer, and then the next thing, the skill thing, is know how to use it. And the third one is competences, and there you are supposed to know when to use a hammer and when to use some other tools. Okay, so know how to use it. Part of the learning outcomes is that I wanted you to be able to make a vision, and we've done a lot of this. The ability to plan and estimate how good the vision is, and if it solves a real problem. We did that during class also. Ability to conduct contextual interviews. Some of you did contextual and some of you did interviews. And analyze the results with affinity diagram. So you did that in the assignments. 2, I think. Ability to design a user interface based on the affinity diagram and evaluate it with users, and then the ability to conduct formal user testing. So this is like the themes in the assignments. The highest level here was the ability to choose what user-centered software development methods fit for analyzing, designing, and evaluating user interfaces in different projects. And this is actually what we are working on this week. Trying to gather the skills or the experiences that you have had during the assignments, and start to interpret what are the benefits, what are the strengths of its methods, and so on. So the second pointer, ability to analyze the benefits and drawbacks of using user-centered development methods, is really what we are working on now. So I wanted to tell you a story about this. I went to a museum and they had these tools there. It is for pressing a lemon, the juice out of a lemon. And it was a table. You can see how long it is. It was like from here to the wall. I don't know how many meters this is, maybe 10 meters or something. It was just crazy. No, 5 meters. I could check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 meters. Yeah, and it was at least 7 meters covered. And it was like maybe 70, 80 meters wide, covered with these, all different designs, all about one task to get the juice out of a lemon. And they were all, they had all various designs. It was just crazy. And this really tells me we can design user interfaces in various ways. And how can we know which is the best one? Out of all of these. And then best for what? Best for getting the juice, or best looking, or best something. It all depends also on what are we looking for, what are our needs. So I think this really fits also with user interfaces. So there isn't maybe like the best interface, and we have so many alternatives to design it, but we always have to check if it fits rather well for the users. So when we are designing something or deciding how a product should be, we have this question, what is the best layout for our users? What needs do they have? What is it that is not needed? But we also have these, actually, we have to decide what methods are we using when we are developing software. So we could also look at this, maybe there are not so many methods around, but if you would like to evaluate, you have a design there and you would like to get feedback on it. There are not so many methods we can use, but there are a lot of methods. And how can we know which methods to use now? Like for evaluating, you have used 4 methods. You've done informal evaluation, you've done formal evaluation of the trip creator, and these are with users, but you did also an expert evaluation in the same assignment where you were yourself evaluating, and then you once did like a competitor analysis. So you've used 4 evaluation methods for gathering feedback or gathering data. And this, I think this can be a puzzle for you to really choose the methods. And I think we actually choose the methods based on our experiences, but also because of some other constraints, like the time we have, and maybe knowledge in the group and interest in the group and so on. So the support we get from the team and from our managers. Okay, so for the evaluation methods, we had these 2 groups, analytical methods where users are not involved, and then empirical methods, or empirical evaluation where users are involved. And there we have mostly 2 groups for the user evaluation methods. It's the former one where we are measuring user performance, and you did that in assignment 4. And then the other one, which is more informal, and it is more used for gathering feedback on the design, for informing the design. So here is the list of what you have done. You've used 2 analytical evaluation methods, evaluating comparable software. You did that in assignment 3. You looked at other solutions similar to yours, and then you did an expert evaluation in assignment 4, and the user evaluation methods were these informal and formal. So I would like to tell you a little bit more about analytical evaluation methods. here there are some, this is a summary of what it is actually. Evaluating comparable solution. What is the method? So it is a review of your direct or indirect competitors and their offerings. And you do it to understand the threats and opportunities. So you should use it during the early stages of the project. And you did that. Actually, in assignment 3, we could have done it a little bit earlier if we should sort of use all these advices here. But actually, all 3 assignments were typically in the early stages of a project. And this is the process that you, this is actually an extended process from what I told you earlier. So this here you could see that you could first talk to business stakeholders to identify the competitors. This is a more thorough version of the competitor analysis. And then prioritize the list of the competitors. Then look at the competition and compare you against their features by feature. So you look at their features and compare the features you are planning against. But you could also use market research or user-generated content. So this is like a more extensive description of how to evaluate comparable solutions. This is also one, the method that you used in assignment 4, expert review using tasks. So I would like to show you this again. We have these 2 groups, the analytical evaluation and the user evaluation or empirical evaluation. And there are actually a number of analytical evaluation methods. And the method that you used in assignment 4 is not here actually. So that is the 7th one. And I call it expert review using tasks. And what that characterizes that method is that you use tasks when you're evaluating. You got some tasks from Trip Creator, and you did go through that when you were evaluating. And when should we use that method? Do you have any suggestions? What did you think about the method? Was it good to use? Yeah? We should go here and say something about it. Okay. Cannot download the information you requested. What does that mean? Do you know? Okay. Ah. Okay. I probably have to sign in and make it public. Is that the... I don't know. Okay. Here we have it. So if we look at the expert evaluation using tasks, What do you when you think about the benefits of doing that? What comes into your mind? What are the benefits of using that method? You used it in assignment 4. The first part of assignment 4, you got these tasks and you evaluated the trip creator. Sorry? Got to know the system. Okay. More? Can you think about anything? Found some errors. Okay. Drawbacks, can you think about something there? How was it to use it? You have this comparison, doing that and doing the user testing. How was it compared to user testing? Was it easy, hard, more informative, less informative? What do you say? Nothing bad. Okay. Aha. So you form your own opinion. Aha. Yes. Okay. You form your own judgment of the system. Is that what we are saying? So this could affect other evaluation like user testing. But how often do you think you could use it, and when is it good to use this? Was it good to use it on a running system, or would it be better on a paper prototype, or I'm sorry? On a running system. Evaluate a running system. And how often do you think? Would you like to do this every week or every month or every year, or what do you think would be? Okay. When new features are getting introduced. Yeah. Okay. But what about competitor analysis? Did you find that good to do that? You were looking at other solutions similar to yours. Was that good? Or were there only drawbacks, or can you tell me something? Aha. To your system. Mhm. Aha. Yes, right. Hard to find flaw in your own system. It's maybe more for idea generation, you're saying, not as much for evaluation. Yeah. So when does it fit? Now we're saying maybe in the early stages, in the idea phase. Is that right? Something more that you can think about? Okay, let's continue then. Yeah. I would like to tell you a little bit more about other analytical methods than you have used before. And these are heuristic evaluation and cognitive walkthrough. So heuristic or analytical methods typically do this, that the evaluator inspects the interface. They are the experts. You register usability problems, but you could also mention the strengths. Heuristic evaluation is very similar to the one that you did using tasks. But there you use heuristics. So you take some heuristics, guidelines, and you go through those. And these are heuristics. Visibility of the system status. So you take one and you go through the whole interface and check, is the system status always visible in the system? When you have done all the system and check this, you take the next guideline, match between system and the real world. Is that good? And then you go through the whole system and check if the match is good. So you're not taking it like one task at a time, you're taking one guideline at a time. But it's very similar in other ways. You are asked to do it individually first and then gather. So, and typically you have 10 guidelines like this. You could also take a bigger pot of guidelines or a standard to evaluate against. But heuristic evaluation, typically you have 5 to 10 heuristics. So first you have to decide what heuristics to use, and then ask evaluators to evaluate first alone and then they meet. And this is very similar like you did. And then decide where to evaluate, what is the environment, and then decide how to register the data. What is it really that you're counting? One other method, analytical method, is called cognitive walkthrough. And this is also quite similar to the one that you were using. So this is a review of the user interface. So there are experts that are reviewing, and they base it on user tasks. And this is also to understand the problems that users might have. And you should really notice that we have here might have, because the users are not there, we can't be sure if they have the problems. And this is the problem with all the analytical methods. We think that they would have this. Okay, but what is different in cognitive walkthrough and the evaluation you did is that for cognitive walkthrough, you are two persons that sit together. So we could have like 6 people doing this, and 2 and 2 sit together, And in each step of the interaction, they take the first task and think, okay, how would the user solve this? And for each like step in solving the task, they ask these four questions. So it takes more time to use this than yours, because they always have to check these four things. Will the user notice that the correct action is available? Will they understand that the wanted subtask can be achieved? Does the user get appropriate feedback? And then if they say yes, with all this, they can take the next step in solving the task. And then they imagine, okay, the user is here and they will see everything, so they will take this step, and then they will have this interface, and then you have to go through the four questions again. Between 1990 and 2000, many of these methods were suggested, and people were very interested in actually knowing if these methods were as good as doing user testing, because as you know from assignment 4, it takes a lot of time to involve the users. Yeah, prepare everything, get them there, and so on. So people were very, very, very interested in finding some methods that would take less time but be effective. And I will tell you a little bit later in this lecture about the, maybe we should do it now, actually. So here is a study that I did with my supervisor in Copenhagen. So I was studying at the University of Copenhagen. At that time, I was doing my master studies, and this is my supervisor, Erik Fröker, and this is Rolf Molik, and he was my co-supervisor. So what we wanted to do was that we wanted to really gather data on how good are the methods, and especially comparing analytical methods against user testing. Yeah, so we wanted to know how can, you know, what actually the question we wanted to ask was, what is the best method? How good are the methods? So this was conducted in 1994, and there were some people that had been doing similar things, but this was like the most extensive study that had been done until then. So what we did, we asked computer science students like you to take part in the study. And we had 3 groups of people there. The first one, and I think I have something. Yep, this one. They used cognitive walkthrough. The analytical method where they used tasks but sit 2 and 2 together. And they asked these 4 questions. Okay? And we had 6 groups of computer science students using that method. And they evaluated a system called TESS. And they were typically 3 working in the group. So it was 18 people doing this. And they delivered in a list of usability problems. So we got 6 lists of usability problem after this. So they had 1 week to do this. Another group used heuristic evaluation on the same system, the same background and everything. Yeah. And then we had a control group that evaluated another system, and they were using 3 of them were using cognitive walkthrough on that system, and 3 using heuristic evaluation. and we wanted them to be like new to the test system in the next session. So by doing this, we could see, do they find more problems using heuristic evaluation than using cognitive walkthrough? Because the system was similar, you see? Then the next week, we asked them all to do user testing, very similar to what you were doing in assignment 4. And we knew which method they had used before. So these here to the right, they were fresh. You know, they hadn't seen tests before, but the other ones had done either cognitive walkthrough or heuristic evaluation. So this setup gives us a lot of possible comparisons. So these are the results. Out of if you okay, so I have to tell you how we analyzed the results. We gathered all the usability problems found in user testing. So typically we would take all the Excel sheet that you delivered in, we would make one long list, we would check, are the groups saying the same, like the search, you know, many groups had these problems, so we would only count that once. So we would have to make a one long list of all the problems found. Yeah. Then we took a list from one group using heuristic evaluation, and we checked how many of the lists of the long list has this group found. Yeah. And then we could see that in average, the groups found 19% of the total number of problems using heuristic evaluation, but only 10% using cognitive walkthrough. So this is why I haven't really taught you so much about cognitive walkthrough, because it is not as effective as heuristic evaluation. The problem with heuristic evaluation was that you can see there 23%. We're not having the focus now there. False problems is when you register a problem, but it isn't a problem. So you say, the users will have this problem, but it wasn't found in the user testing. There weren't any such problems found using cognitive walkthrough, but there were many using heuristic evaluation. So it is like using these guidelines really guides you sometimes to problems that aren't problems for users. Okay, and then the average group of 3 people using Think Aloud, the same method that you used in assignment 4, they found about 18% of the problems found, you know, total number of problems. What was interesting in this was that so this was the false problems discussion. The interesting thing was that if you had used heuristic evaluation before doing user testing, the results were better. So it was like the combination of using first heuristic evaluation, evaluating you know, through the guidelines, and then doing Think Aloud was better. And also to the left there, here we are combining the results from heuristic evaluation and Think Aloud, and that gives a good effect. And this is actually what we people that are interested in methods, we are interested in doing research like this. Checking actually how good are the methods, which methods give good results. In another study that we did, then there were 3 ladies doing this study. It was Ebba Þóra Kvamberg from the University of Iceland, Effie Law from ETH from, this is in Zurich, and me from Reykjavík University. We wanted to study further heuristic evaluation. So what we did was that we asked 20 people to take part in the study, and 5 of them were using guidelines from Jacob Nielsen, but 5 were using other guidelines. So here we are actually thinking about, does it matter which guidelines you use when you're doing the evaluation? And then we asked 5 people to, no, actually we used, I asked 10 people to use Nielsen and 10 Gerald Powers, I'm sorry, and then 10 to use paper to register the usability problems and 10 to use a tool. So there were 5 in each cell, okay? There were not any significant differences in which guidelines you picked, and but actually heuristic evaluation was not as effective as doing a think aloud. So the results from these 10 people, they only found around 40% of the problems that were found in user testing. So these results tell me, yeah, it's fine to do analytical evaluation. Sometimes they're in between, but user testing is really vital. So I recommend to you, try to do user testing as much as possible. If you can't do it, you could do analytical evaluation. And of course, like the competitor analysis is maybe a different thing, because there you're gaining ideas. You're not evaluating, like you commented. Okay. Maybe it's time to take a short break now, is it? 5 minutes? Should we do that? I will open the window.